So tell me a little bit about Bruno at 21, a little bit before this entire journey with many titles came along.
At that time, when I was 21, I have one simple answer to all the questions that I had, like when everyone has like 21.
What are some lessons, whether it's one or two lessons that you took away?
I would say two main things. The first one, action. Take action. Send emails. Call to people. All those verbs. Use them. Write letters if you need. I don't care. But take action. The second step, it's create a very good product or a good service. Marketing can be complex. If you start to study, you'll figure it out. It's very complex.
Well, Bruno, welcome to the podcast at M7 Studio, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to having me here, and I think there's lots of stories, and it will be fun somehow.
Definitely. Now, you as a person, as we've met for quite a few months now, can be broken up into many titles. Founder and CEO, we can look at it from an orthodontist point of view, from a lecturer in the innovation space, and even from an entrepreneur from many, many years ago, and now holding on to your marketing agency. But let's leave those titles aside, and I want you to take me back. So tell me a little bit about Bruno at 21, a little bit before this entire journey with many titles came along.
At that time, when I was 21, I have one simple answer to all the questions that I had, like when everyone has like 21. Well, like, what are we gonna do in the future? What are we gonna become something? And at that time, I had one straight and bold something for me. It's I want to help people. I know this is too broad, and when you're young, you're not smart enough to have the right quotes. But how at that time I planned to do that. I was always involved with medicine, and my whole life I have to face like 3 big surgeries, and I was always like, oh my God, that's beautiful, right? And I fall in love with dentistry, which until now I have some connections with dentistry, and during that time from 21 to 29. I spent almost 8 years helping people solve their pains, actively listen to them. And that changed my life completely, because it was not just about the treatment, right? But it's about to understand their pains and understand people. And from that, Bruno, like when I got like 21 years old, I realized my journey was starting learning, listen to people. That's the great skills that I believe nowadays it's lacking a lot, because we have now AI that listen to us, but we are not listening to people.
Yeah.
Right? So the lots of outcomes, lots of things, but sometimes we are not listening what people want. And you can do whatever you want with AI, but the end of the day, you need a people to take a decision, to make a decision, and to buy something or to sell something, right? And that was the first skill that I believe, honestly, that I developed. It's listen to people, because in the dentistry, most of patients are there to be listened, not just to be treated. They sit in the chair, oh my God, and they start to talk about histories, about the family, about all the other pains, right? And I was not that kind of doctor that just, okay, you are here to do your treatment. No, I like to listen. I like the stories. I felt connected with lots of patients, which after like 8 years, I'm still connected with some of them, because that's the human being thing behind of the business. Everywhere here like to make money, that's completely beautiful, but the way that you do this can change lots of things in your life. And I think connecting with people and provide them what they need, that's a beautiful game changer that you can have in your business, in your life. And that was the lesson that I learned when I started with 21 years old.
Awesome. That's a great answer. And I think in the field of being in dentistry and serving patients, and like you said, connecting with the human being on that chair, I personally hate going to the dentist. And every time you go, you're hoping either there's nothing wrong, and if there is, you're probably in a lot of pain and you're there to solve it. But like you said, a lot of times we go to the dentist and it's like our therapy session with the dentist and just talking. But that typically takes it away from you as a professional to also focus on yourself. A lot of dentists are very selfless. They're going in every single day. They're sacrificing so many hours, not only to study, but also to serve in their practice. So how did you manage to take that step away? So let's move towards the end of that 7 to 8 year career serving in the dentistry field. When did Bruno say, okay, now it's time for me to focus on what I want to do in the next decade or next steps in my life?
That was a great question. I was starting to watch some videos. I am a bookworm. I love to like read books, and I one patient gave to me like a book. It's called in English. It's companies made to last or something. I forgot the title like in English, but that book opened my mind of something else, because at that I was 27 or something, and at that time I was completely focused on only dentistry, like the practice of dentistry. And that book opened my mind to something way bigger than just spend your hours, which is very noble. I'm not like saying this is right or wrong, but to in a certain way, you're limited by your hours.
Yep.
As a doctor.
We all are.
As a doctor, and you have 1 hour to see that patient. So you're very limited in a certain number to, let's say, help people, right? You have 24 hours a day, as everybody. But at that book opened my mind, okay, being an entrepreneur or find a solution to people that can be very scalable, and you can help thousands of people in the same day with the solution that you created, that you provide. And that opens my mind of scarcity. Like we have like time, it's very limited. And being an entrepreneur, you have the power of to multiply those hours per day. I'm not just saying about the money gain of the game, but I'm saying like, okay, how many people now I can help doing that? And at that time, that clicked my mind and say, okay, I think I have a solution for a problem, and I can help lots of other patients. So at that time, I always like to study. You can call me nerd. I don't care. But I shift the books from the dental school and articles and journals or magazines, whatever, to business books. Because one thing that I learned, it doesn't matter if you have 24 years old, 18 years old, but you can learn from past experience from people to not commit the same mistakes, or at least you can innovate it on top of the mistakes that the people already did in the past. So I started to read books, talk to people, but now with a different interest, like to see, okay, why you're very well succeed people, what you did, right? And I started to create this solution which we can discuss more about that later, but to create this business to help more people. So that was kind of the shift that I did, and that blew my mind, because once I started to study about people's behavior, buyer decisions, the whole scientific methodology of hormones like involved into the sales process. Like I tried to combine biology and like the business behaviors. And that was for me at that time a perfect match, because everything started to make sense when I was talking to my patients, why they're accepting the treatment. Oh, because they feel that and that. Oh, I kind of I didn't know, I never studied about business before, but I did that, and it works now because of this. And I started to make all the connections, say, okay, I think those skills that I learned as a dentist can be transferable to something else, to business. The whole biology behind of the making a decision, that could be leveraged somehow. And then I started to, I just fall in love like with the business. My wife worked with the marketing since always, so we are always like having discussions now about this. And in 2022, to be more exactly, it was the year to say, okay, now I'm gonna focus 100% on this.
Nice. Now, when you say focus on this, more the marketing side and being able to push a business vision or mission of serving more people, helping more people, getting their message out in a broader sense in terms of their story, their presence, their online presence, their ability to just be able to carry out their mission in a much bigger scale. Now let's take it a little bit back to your journey. So right now we're getting involved into the marketing, but before we got here, did you got involved in anything dentistry related with business?
100%. In 2018, so since 2018, I started this shift path, let's say. I was a orthodontist, so I have a very clear pain of my patients. Why? Because that's a very good tip. I talk to them. Talk to people. Don't assume they have their pains. Talk to them. Because I talk to them, I realize a pain during certain phase of the treatment that I searched at that time and I couldn't have any answer to solve the problem. So in 2018, I started to develop, it was a hardware plus software solution to solve those patients' problems. So at that time, it was a lot of money involved, like for investments and everything. I did everything like bootstrapping 100%. And because at that time I didn't know like the investors world and everything. So it was a learning process, right? And then I could got like a very good experience running that startup at that time. I brought the startup here to Canada. That's like where I matched the Brazil-Canada story. I brought the startup here. I got into the venture lab here in Canada. It's a IBM spin-off, like to help startups to accelerate their ideas. I got I thrilled when I got the email say, okay, we like your project. We want to accelerate you. That was an incredible opportunity to now dive deep in those people and world environment of business people, investments, startups, and everything, which I learned a lot. I used to talk to people. I actively listen to people. I tried to catch like their experience by the stories and conversation, and trying to apply everything like to my reality. And that was like 2022, 21 to 23. It was a year that I learned a lot. And like I have the chance opportunity to put that like into product to see like if it's working or not. And then I realized, okay, entrepreneurship is way harder than I was expecting.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people overlook that initial startup process. And as we get into marketing, we'll dig deeper into this topic. But a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we have to be careful that every stage you're on or every talk you're having or every person you meet is already marketing. It's just you marketing yourself and portraying that brand over to the one-to-one relationship. In your case, could have been to venture capitalists, investors, angel investors. Those guys are always looking for an opportunity. And I even watched one of your podcast episodes last night, and the idea that you created in 2018 is still something that people remember you now in these past few years, and we're 2025 and people are still remembering of the entrepreneur, the founder, the one that had the idea and had to push that idea out. Now, digging deeper into that experience, tell me something to people that might be in that early stage of startup, presenting it to an investor. What are some lessons, whether it's one or two lessons that you took away from those few years of experience of having to bring that startup over to Canada?
I would say two main things. The first one, action. Take action. Send emails. Call to people. Like all those verbs. Use them. Write letters if you need. I don't care. But take action. Right? And towards your goals. The second thing is talk to people. That's the two main things that I will highly recommend to everybody. I'm not saying like only startups, but to everybody that wants to run a business. First, action. Don't rely on other people's actions. Take action by yourself. That's the first thing. All entrepreneurs that I have the chance to talk, very like well succeed people, they still are taking action, even though they don't need anymore. But they are taking the action of to go talk to people. It's just different levels, but they didn't change. They still do it. Now they have other people to do other simple tasks, whatever. But this is another subject. But take action and talk to people. Networking. Like we were saying about the podcast with Peter Hawks, which he's a great guy. And the lesson that I learned with him, it's the power of networking. You never know who is the people that will open doors for you. Sometimes you have those people in mind, but they aren't. Maybe they will connect you to some people, and that people will connect you to something else, to someone else. And that one will open your door. So you never know. So networking, it's the endless process. It's always good to meet people because we never know when we're going to add value to them. And that's, I think it's the two main steps that I highly encourage people that are starting their business and they are. Can I just add one comment on top of that? That was a fun story. I was watching some videos. How easy now in 2025 is to open a business. We have lots of AIs. You have AIs doing kind of everything for you, but the only thing they don't do yet, because we never know, we are recording now in 2025, it's to interact to people. Most of AI, okay, passive, you can call here and AI will get the phone, say, okay, you want to do appointment? Yes. But the sales, prospecting, sharing values, AI cannot do that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not there yet, but maybe in a decade or so we could be. But like you said, from your founder's journey and launching a business and bringing it up to investors, something that may seem so complex still comes down to simple lessons that you took away from it. And I think it's simple lessons that everybody needs to apply. And like you said at the beginning of this podcast, so many people are lacking this skill. And it could be AI, it could be some time that we stayed in isolation and pandemic that took people away from the socializing aspect and the networking event, and it became so easy to just be screen to screen, whether it was for an interview, whether it was for a networking event. So I think society has taken so much, but we also have at the same time so many resources available for you to hone in on those skills, become better at knocking on doors, become better at communicating so that you can get your message across. Something Peter Hawkins said is, how can you tell what you do in 10 words or less, or a minute or less, or 30 seconds or less? Some people call it the elevator pitch. So how can you pitch yourself if you're going up in an elevator within 30 seconds so that that person can be of value to you? That marketing connection could be something that leads to opportunities. And with that, I want us to lead into FlyUs and FlyUs marketing agency today, which is where you hold the CEO and founder role at the moment. And from your current marketing, you stand on three pillars: on strategy, on creativity, and on performance. And from those three pillars, to anybody watching, what would you say is one of the components that could leave a business bleeding out money if those pillars are not in place?
I would say the three are very important. But if I have to pick one, I would say strategy. Strategy, it's something that countless entrepreneurs take for granted because they believe they have the strategy. They believe they know what they want, but in reality, they don't. And when they figure out when it's the reality, through the outcomes, I would tell you something. I'm not like, you can have performance, you can have creativity, but if you're running the wrong direction, you are so wrong. You can run fast in the wrong direction. You never will achieve what you want. So in my opinion, that pillar of strategy, it's something really, really important. And when I say strategy, I'm going to try to land, because the concept strategy, sometimes it's too broad and people don't know what is strategy. Sometimes like people can think strategy is something, it's things that we write on the board or something. No, that's not strategy. That's part of you're trying to create a strategy, right? Strategy, in my opinion, to land here, it's okay, here where I am. Here it's where I want to be. And now I have to, how can I achieve that? It's that feasible first, right? So there's lots of things I have to check before set the goal. Because right now, like let's say 20 years ago, I'll say, okay, I want to go to Mars. People say, oh, come on, right? But now we can see, okay, that may be feasible. Why? Lots of breaking points and milestones was done until you achieve there. So when you have this ability to create those milestones and breakpoints until you find your goal, now you're starting to have a strategy to see if you can follow it. Of course, you have to follow it to see like if you're going to achieve that goal, but it'll be easy to see if you are taking the right steps. And even more, like that's the complicated problem for all entrepreneurs. It makes it easier to say no to a few things. Once, okay, that's where I want to go. But now somehow in the same day, sometimes there's three, four decisions that will start to take away from that goal. So you have to say no if you want to get there. So I believe strategy, it's the main pillar. And if you have innovation thinking process, creativity, and performance, you can get that faster, for sure. But without strategy, I think that will crush the whole idea of to run a business.
Yeah, I agree. And you said take action and talk to people. And I think it's very important that you also brought in this pillar of strategy, because like you said, somebody could be taking action or they can be talking to people. But if that's taking them in the wrong direction, then taking action is just wasting time. It's wasting resources, and most often is going to get you not at the finish line, but at the point where you might not even reach your full potential for what your set goal is, like you said, or your set target. But one thing that I like that you mentioned, and I want to go in detail, is a strategy is not static. A strategy is not something that today I say, Bruno, I want to get down there, but then I don't look at anything that's happening along the process to say, okay, is that still feasible? Is that still where I want to get? So tell us a little bit about strategy in terms of your marketing agency. How do you typically handle a new client and set a strategy for them, but also ongoing, how do you maintain that strategy to still drive performance? And obviously, like you said, the creativity, innovation, all of that is just cherry on the cake.
First, we have to settle the goals. I think that was the first, like when we are handling like a new customer in your agency, we always have this conversation. Okay, what's your expectations and how we can measure it, those expectations, to see if you were getting there. That was the first calls. The first, like during the briefing, we always ask those questions. Because once we set the right, we're going to call KPIs, but I think like key performance indicators, it's good to show them, the entrepreneurs, if we are achieving their expectations. Combine that, we have to understand their business, understand the market, understand the audience, and together, we as a FlyUs, we help them to, okay, let me collaborate with you to bring a strategy that it's feasible, doable, and we can get there together. Because without that, let's say, oh, I want $10 million in 10 months. Okay, that's a good goal. Can we achieve that? What's the product? What's the price? How you price your products? How is the market today? How is the politics involving with the process of the decision making? How's the economy? So there's lots of things that we have to sit together to create this strategy. Because again, strategy, it's more than just set goals. You have to understand the whole environment, the whole chain that will impact the decision-making process of your customer, client, whatever you want to serve. Once you understand that, you have all the ingredients to create a very good strategy. Because that's another problem. You may have a strategy, sometimes not a good one. So that's why it's important to break down and talk to friends, talk to specialists, because strategy is something that you have to be careful. As you said, lots of money involved, time, and the thing is, if you don't have a good strategy, by the end of that period, you're going to be frustrated. And that frustration, sometimes it's not the tool, it's not the features, it's not even the product, but it's the way that was built everything together, right?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. It's a lot of times we focus so much on just a set goal. But like you said, it's not just about setting that goal, it's how are we going to execute every single moving part and step of that strategy to reach that goal. And in that topic, in the field that I'm in, a lot of times when you set a strategy, there's already a quantitative result from it, or at least a predicted quantitative result. Meaning, if I implement a tax strategy, it's going to save you X amount of dollars. In marketing, it's a little bit different. You are able to have strategies, you're able to have creativity, innovation, even performance from a marketing standpoint, but doesn't always lead to maybe the end goal of the client. So how do you, in a world of helping people in your background, how do you help people understand that there's a side of strategy, execution, performance, creativity from a marketing agency? But like you said, it's not a one road of I'm taking you to that goal. It's a collaboration. So how do you make sure that that message comes across to any business owner that you're there to collaborate on that strategy and there's equal part in that goal being achieved by both yourself as the agency and of course the business?
I love your question, and I will try to answer combine dentistry and marketing, because I think there's something in between that we can extract as a very good knowledge. I was an orthodontist. So let's just settle the difference between, let's say, an orthodontist or any other surgeon, or that can. There are two types of procedures. Let's say I want to extract the teeth, for example. I know by the end of that appointment, you're going to leave without a teeth. That was expected. So you go to the practice, the dentist will perform the surgery, extract the teeth, done. There's lots of things in business that's we can compare like that. Let's say taxes.
Yep.
You do the tax, you know you're there with numbers, you know how the numbers will go by the end, and you deliver it, done. Now orthodontist. Every month or bi-weekly or whatever, we have to take an action, wait for 2 months or for 2 weeks or 1 month, whatever, to see the outcome. And then from that, we have to take decision to fix that. Oh, okay, now it's good. Now I have to do this. So we have to follow a path with lots of variables to complete the treatment. If the patient collaborate, it help us to achieve that faster. But there are lots of variables that we have to handle to deliver the treatment. Let's now go back to business. In marketing, we are dealing with people. People, there's lots of variables on that, on the decision process. Let's say the economy, now the person has a family, and then all of a sudden, okay, now we're going to have a baby. So all the plans change. But I was targeting that people. That person was on my lead. It was a hot lead. Why that person didn't close the business with me? That's inspected. Because variables. But now, of course, business we can be more broad, but the marketing things, you have to take an action, understand the outcome, understand what was the answers, what was the numbers that we call. Nowadays we have like lots of great tools to collect data, but now how to interpret that data to take the next steps, like orthodontist treatment. Okay, now I take this, that was the outcome. Okay, now let's tweak this, tweak that to see if we can have the better outcome next and next. So trying to answer and combine those worlds, I think on the business and the marketing side, it's like an orthodontist treatment. You have to take actions wisely, right? trying to be the best way possible, but understand the feedback, understand the outcome from that, and take other steps, other action. It's a never-ending process. It's not like yeah, sometimes some ortho treatments, it's endless process, but that was marketing. It's a beautiful, complex process that all companies need to understand and do bold steps, invest in marketing.
Awesome. Now, that's a great answer. And I know growing up with four brothers in total, we didn't always have the resources to send everybody to an orthopedics to get braces and get everything fixed up. I was last on the list and I never got them. So I know how it is in terms of always an ongoing process. I know my brother got to a point of just wearing the big braces outside their face and he had to go to sleep like that every night. But like in marketing, like you said, it's moving process with a lot of variables coming outside of things that are in your control as a professional and agency, that as a client to agency relationship, you need to make sure that you understand that there is moving parts, there is variables, and the point of an agency, and you can correct me, but it's to guide and to be proactive when those variables come in the way of achieving the goal, and not necessarily working on their own, wasting time, wasting resources, not knowing how to address those variables that keep coming up in business, taking us away from the end goal of a marketing agency working with the client.
I'm trying to, what is marketing? Let's start with that. Okay, I'm going to do better. What is not marketing? Social media, it's not marketing. Posts or copywriting, it's not marketing. Websites, it's not marketing. Videos, podcasts, it's not marketing. These are channels. Done. These are features. I would say marketing, in my personal opinion, it's something that understand people's pain and bridges with the solution that you have to offer. This is marketing. How the bridge will be built. Okay, now we can introduce channels, methodology, quality, and everything. But this is part of the marketing. What I realize in this market, it's lots of people, they do lots of great things. But by the end of the day, they're lacking of bridge the customer's pains with the solution that you have in your offering. But you have a gold bridge. But by the end of the day, you're lacking a few steps to bridge that gap to connect both. That's why it's very important, like the concept of marketing, what marketing is, so people can spend some time in, again, talk to their customers, understand their pains, how they're seeing value in what you're offering. These points and features, it's how you're gonna bridge that gap. Because it's not the value perception that you deliver. It's the value perception that it's perceived by your customers that make you, a company, a business, succeed. So these are like very important, I think, concepts that we have to understand and apply to taking like bold next steps.
I love that analogy of having the bridge in between and the channels implemented will get you across that bridge. But the first point of marketing and where marketing initiates is the strategy, the creativity, the performance, the pillars that you guys stand by, and how is marketing going to portray that over to that end consumer. And of course, the bridge is necessary to get to the end consumer, but it's very important that we understand marketing is not all those channels. Those are just a way to get to your end goal. And I think a lot of times as a business, we see somebody blowing up on social media, or you see a video going viral, or you see a clip on YouTube, and you're like, oh, I love that. But that's just one channel, like you said, and it's a channel that didn't happen overnight. You see channels happening for 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe you can cut a little bit of the time by working with a professional, but your message still has to be aligned with marketing. Your end consumer still needs to be aligned with the message you're trying to portray. Then you can use all those channels to get that message across and get the overall goal across a much broader market, like we talked since the start. Now I want to bring us back to the marketing step, and I only got $1,000. People so often want the end goal and hire somebody on the marketing side, but doesn't understand that those channels that they're trying to pursue takes quite a bit of investment. Just this room itself was a little bit more than $1,000, and people want to take that channel, but they don't understand the size of investment that each channel takes. So if you have a business owner that approaches you, and it might not be your target market, but if they have $1,000, what would you say would be their first steps as a business owner to be able to get themselves over that bridge, or at least start them on the way to the end goal?
If I was a business owner with $1,000 in my hand, I will spend that consulting a professional, not investing right now in any type of channel. Consulting, talk to, it could be any other marketing agency. Of course, I'm going to promote mine, but any when you have the feeling that you can trust in that professional. That was the most, that's the best way to waste that $1,000. From that, you can even start with zero. You can start your business with zero investment. But if you now understand how you're going to do that, how you're going to bridge that gap, that was the tip that can give you where to spend those $1,000. Because of course we have social medias, we mapped, we wrote we was reading an article, it was Harvard Journal or something. There's more than 82 channels. Social media, it's one of them.
Yeah.
So, but people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But just to have an idea how many channels we have, and depends of your business. If you are taking that channel because everybody are doing, maybe it's not for your business. So having this chance to talk to someone that understand, that will sit with you, that will understand your business. What's your industry? How was the process of your customer have to take that decision? How you can understand that journey? How you can map all those steps? Then we can start to think about channels. So once we mapped that, we create a strategy. Okay, now it's time to build a bridge. But before that, you are building the bridge on the wrong direction, so nobody gonna walk through that.
Yeah, we had the same experience, even our company starting up. A lot of times you're limited in resources. When you're in business, you're starting business, you have to make payroll, you have to scale business, you have to deliver the service, you have to have somebody selling the service. All those moving parts already took a lot of the resources. And then you think about marketing. But what I love what you said is that instead of spending, because we burnt so much money in channels that didn't take us anywhere because the marketing wasn't aligned with what the end consumer was looking for. So something that we thought would work, Let's spend $1,000 in ads, no results. Let's spend $3,000 in ads, no results. And in our field, and I'm sure a lot of people's field, they think $1,000 goes far, but in a channel like ads, that could be a week of ads that gets to nobody, and then it doesn't get you to your end goal. So I love the idea of consult first, get the expertise from somebody that does it, has the experience, knows how to guide you in that right direction. And then, of course, it's going to involve a lot of manual work from the entrepreneur, from the business, to find other resources or possibly do it themselves. But a lot of times I find people try to do so much all at once. They want to have the podcast channel, then they want to do ads, then they want to focus on marketing and on the social media pages, and then they want to do email marketing, then they got their website, blogs. All channels, like you said, there's 80 plus channels that somebody can explore. So somebody that's very limited in resources, I personally believe master of one or master of none. So you can't just be good at all the channels all at once. So in your opinion, and let's bring it into more specific client, let's call it a service business, local service business that already spent the $1,000. Would you recommend them focus on one channel, or you typically have a few channels that you have a service local business looking to just get more clients, get more revenue into their business, be able to bring in more resources to then invest in a professional?
I will give a free tip to everybody. If you're starting and if you're lack of budget, because let's face the reality, it's not just, this is a skill that people has to learn, but it's not everybody that has like the budget way to run a business. They don't have budget, right? But let's say you're starting your service or small business. The first marketing, it's the people close to you. Talk to them. The second step, it's create a very good product or a good service. Provide a good service to them. It could be, you don't have to be like very tech, something. Solve their problems. Again, we were starting about talk to people. Understand their pains, solve their pains. They will be happy. They will talk to other people and so on, right? If you are starting, I will highly recommend make your service and product self-marketable or something like that before investing in something else. Once you start to make money, and now you can have a little margin of your profit to spend in marketing. Now it's time, okay, we have lots of channels. Why everyone like are talking about social media? Because by the end of the day, it's very cheap channel. You don't have to spend lots of money and you can have a very good result. But again, we are talking about local small business that provides service, right? So from that type of business, yes, explore social medias. But in what way? What's your goal of the social media? Again, we're talking about strategy and goals. You want to sell more? So create content, create a strategy to attract more people interest in your business. Don't just show yourself. If you want to collect leads and people calling you, make them call you. That's the thing. We call it generate leads, right? Lead generation and everything. So how you do that? Oh, there's lots of possibilities, strategies to do that. But if I am starting a business, first deliver very good and talk to people. One strategy, you're gonna laugh, but it works a lot. Do you like my business? Do you like the way that I solve your problem? Oh, yes. Okay. Do you have two or three more people around you that you believe that has the same problem? I'm starting a business and I think the people that you like and deserve the same quality as you enjoy. Yeah, I may do. Believe me, if you asked 10 people that you just served, probably seven not gonna, oh, no, I'm okay, I'm good. But believe me, some people they do. They will give you two or three numbers. And if you put in a do the math, that's a very exponential possibilities to grow your customers. And what marketing budget wise was spent on that?
Just your time.
Zero. So that's why the marketing, it's not social media, it's not the whole thing, but it is the strategy to bridge that gap. At that specific example, it was a conversation in referral. That's it. It's not a rocket science. It's something that you have to do, but strategic thinking like to build and to do and to build, to manage, and to act doing that.
Yeah, I love how we're almost taking a full circle now. Of we started with what are two tips you learned before getting into the entire industry, even though you've mentioned decades of experience in marketing. But we said take action and talk to people. And those tips that you just provided to a business owner that might be limited in resources came down to take action and talk to people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people overlook because of how complex things might seem on the internet, on social media, on AI side of things. Things are evolving so quickly that maybe a business owner today might feel so overwhelmed with how many tools we have available to us and what we have to do. And sometimes it does come down to, especially a local business, service business, serve well, solve their problems, like you said, but most importantly, talk to them and take action. And I think those two things are going to drive far greater results than any channel at the stage that they're at. And like you said, if we do the math on it, 3 people out of 10, 30% conversion rate, you go look at an email campaign you sent out, you might get 5% people opening up
correct.
your emails. And those 5% might not even buy from you. So you might even have a 2% conversion from an email that you sent out because you never talked and you never took the action. So I love how we're now on a full circle, bringing it back to people. But I also think marketing in our industry and in social media and blogs and whatever else that we come across, marketing, they make it so complex to now business owners think it's a cost. But if the strategy is correct and the implementation is taking action, it's never a cost when it comes to marketing if the strategy is lined correctly and every action you're taking is generating the results that you're looking for. So let's go a little bit more specific to common terms business owners might hear when they get into all these gurus on the internet and LTVs and CAC and ROAS and this and that. And let's just simplify like we just did to 2 simple points. How can we take all the complexities of marketing, the performance assessments, the strategies in place, and just simplify it to a business owner, let's call it the service business, that just needs to understand if they're going in the right direction?
To start that answer, I will highly recommend people first, marketing can be complex. And if you start to study, you'll figure it out. It's very complex. I would say the marketing complexity, it will follow you the maturity of your business. If your business, you're just born, your marketing has to be very simple, like a referral, a conversation to people. If you run a $1 million revenue company, your marketing, it's a different maturity. As the same as a $10 million agency company, $100 million. The complexity will follow you. But one thing, it doesn't change in any stage of maturity. It's the importance. How important is marketing? Marketing and sales. Let me just differentiate the both so people can understand. Marketing, it's everything. I already like to say that, but marketing is everything. They'll put your brand, your solution in front of the people that need it, or they not even know they need it yet. That's the role the marketing play in any business. And then you have to convert those people into customers. And now the sales team play a crucial role. But then you have to deliver whatever the service, the product that you have. That's the operational part. But then people forgot that. But you have to retain that person, because that could referral people that can buy from you again and again and again, or use your product or use your service, like, or whatever. But those four pillars, it's very important to any that doesn't matter if you're B2B, B2C, B2B2C. I learned with the Sergio Frias that business is P2P. It's people to people. Doesn't matter the industry that you are. So, marketing play a crucial role here in this environment. And I understand that some companies, the owner has to do all in once. They have to do the marketing, they have to close the deal, they have to deliver, and they have to keep talk with the same person to try to retain them. That's why it's important now you understand what phase you are. Okay, I'm making money, but now I have to make less money to be able to make more money. That mindset, it's the game changer. Once you understand that you have to spend more to make more, you're starting to play a real good game. What I realized talking to other entrepreneurs is, I see, they don't say that, but I see marketing as expensive. That could be danger. With like there's a book that I wrote. It's the author. It's Kotler, and he say, take marketing innovation aside, everything else it's cost, but not marketing and innovation, because marketing that will help you sell more, or let's say technical things will help you increase the conversion rate to sell. That's the role the marketing plays in companies and agencies. If your marketing are not doing that, then you're not doing marketing, and yes, you're spending money, and yes, you're totally right to be frustrated. But you are wrong and say, oh, marketing doesn't work. No, that's not true. You're just not doing marketing. You're doing everything. You're doing social media, you're doing podcasts, but you're not doing marketing.
I love that. And for us to bring our topics a little bit to our wrap now, I want us to leave business owners with a metric that they should be looking at on a daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis when it comes to their marketing. Like you said, you might be advertising and promoting, which is also a line in the income statements, and it is an expense. But if you're truly investing in marketing, that only yields greater results from your business. And if you're not yielding results from the marketing you're doing, maybe you're working with the wrong people. But tell me one metric that somebody needs to look at, whether it's one-to-one conversation, whether it's the referral basis or they've got into some channels that they're now exploring to get their message across, but they're doing it, but they don't typically know, how do I know it's working?
You asked me one, but I'll give you two. Two metrics that I highly recommend. People Google it. Ask ChatGPT. Do whatever you want. But master these two KPIs, let's say it this way. The first one, you have to understand your customer acquisition cost, short for CAC. You have to understand how much you're spending to acquire that customer. It's not a lead, it's a customer. They bought something, they use your service, whatever. Okay. Once I understand that cost, the second KPI, how much money this customer are leaving to my company across the time, which is LTV. If you understand the ratio between your CAC and your LTV, those KPIs are the best to understand if you're doing a good marketing. Because if you're spending too much to acquire a customer that just pays you almost the same quantity that you're spending, and that was just one-time shop, like the one-time delivered solution, you're losing money. You don't have a business. Sorry. You have to, if you are into this situation right now, try to think how you can change your business model, because that will kill you across the time. You are making lots of money, but you're spending lots of money.
You're bleeding.
Right? But now, if you understand that maybe, let's say, I will just give you a random example. I have to spend $10,000 putting all together, all the marketing efforts, all salaries, everything, to acquire that customer. But that customer will leave into my company $100,000 across 10 years, even though I lost the first year or the second year, but I was still making money on the time. Now it's a cash flow problem, which you have to figure out how to handle that. But you do have a business, a very good one. Like if you look into the ratio. But if you ask me one, but I have to give you those two, because if you're mastered those two, you are fully covered, at least to understand from the marketing perspective if you're doing a good job.
Awesome. I think that covers pretty much marketing in a nutshell and giving people a true understanding of what marketing is today. But I think we also simplified it, but at the same time, make sure people understand it's a complex area of business and it's an area that you need an expert that understands your business, your strategies, your target goals so that they can get there. We don't always say faster, but we can say efficiently and with the minimal use of resources when you have a professional by your side. So for that, tell us a little bit about how they can reach FlyUs, how can they reach Bruno, and get in touch with your agency or just be in your circle so that they can gain value from things like we do here, or even when you get involved in your other channels.
Beautiful. I will give you a QR code to let you to stay here. But we have the website, www.weflyus.com. You can just fill the form and someone of your team is going to reach you to book an appointment to, again, understand your pains if you have the understanding of your business, so we can help us create, since the strategy we can be your arm into your business to become your sales operational part. We have an ABM account, so we can manage teams to work like inside your company, being exclusively like working like to your account. We are a one-stop shop solution for marketing perspective. You can follow me on social medias. I'm not too active, but I do have some projects like some podcasts. You can be free to reach. That's another project that I'm working. It's called Next Level Business Academy, which our goal is to help entrepreneurs understand a little bit. They have to open a little bit their minds and think outside of the box to survive. One thing that I learned during this project, it's if you're not growing, you're dying. You're not like because, oh, I don't want to grow. No, you're dying. If you don't want to grow because you don't want to take bold steps or you feel very overwhelmed because your operations, you have to convince all other competitors to not grow as well. If you have problems inside of a house, hire M7 to understand how to fix their accounts. I know like you guys have a beautiful project for our ERP integrations. So that will help like people understand why they're struggling like with operations, putting process in place, which I love this, by the way. And you don't have to fear to grow, but you have to understand how to grow, because that understand will leave you like to the freedom to do it, to take the action. What afraid and frees people to take the action? It's, oh, but what if I take the wrong steps? If you are there, your competitors may not be at the same level at you and taking those steps. And if they get faster, you're maybe losing market. So it's a game, it's a sport. Entrepreneurship, it's a sport. You have to play as an athlete. If you are going to the game thinking that you're going to lose the game, you will lose the game.
That's right. So thank you so much for your time you've invested into here. Like we said, we're going to drop a QR code at the bottom so that you can scan it, get in touch with Bruno, get everything much more than what we talked here today, as an hour can only give us so much time to explore the world of marketing. But I do think that a lot of people gain so much value from you. So I appreciate the time. And I hope in about a year or so, or even less, we'll be able to look back into this episode and see where FlyUs is going at that moment. And of course, I'm sure they're going to be growing and scaling as fast as it possibly could. So thank you, Bruno, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Matt. I love, by the way, the episode, and congratulations for your steps. You're taking very good and bold steps.
Thank you.
Take care.